Hello, my loves. Thank you for your patience with me while I have been away for so long. I wanted to update you all on my journeys, what I have been learning, uncovering, releasing, integrating, and exploring. So, my journey of this summer began with a series of 3-day intensive workshops with the Awareness Institute, which I've kind of mentioned before. And these workshops come in phases. The first, level 1, is called Conscious Living. And in their words, the Conscious Living Retreat provides nothing short of a profound, accelerated experience in self-awareness and transformation. It is about honestly assessing and taking responsibility for the life you've lived and finding the courage to discover what is real and true for you in some of the following ways. Bringing forth a renewed call to break free from our conditioned beliefs and our fearful, limiting patterns and behaviors. What it means to discover the roots of trust and intimacy by shining a light on our relationship with our mothers and the feminine. How to actively release trauma and blockages stored in our bodies. And it also provides you with integration of new tools and practices for maintaining awareness in our daily lives. And it looks like this live started in the middle of what I had already been saying. So if anybody's on here, can you tell me if you heard the start of this? Because if you didn't, then I think maybe I should start again because it looks like it's only been recording for 25 seconds. Okay, we're just going to start again. So, hi. Hello, everyone. As you know, if you're here, my name is Casandra MacAlan, and I want to thank you for your patience with me while I've been away for so long. I wanted to update you on all my journeys and what I've been learning, uncovering, releasing, integrating, and exploring. And it looks like someone made a nope, did not hear the start, did not hear it. Oh, so good to see you guys. Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about what's been going on. So I mentioned before that I've been working with an organization called the Awareness Institute, and that's kind of how my journey this summer began with this series of these 3-day intensive workshops. And they come in phases. The first level is called Conscious Living, and in their words, it is a retreat that provides nothing short of a profound, accelerated experience in self-awareness and transformation. And it's about honestly assessing and taking responsibility for the life you've lived. And finding the courage to discover what's real and true for you in some of the following ways. So, bringing forth a renewed call to break free from our conditioned beliefs and our fearful, limiting patterns and behaviors. What it means to discover the roots of trust and intimacy by really shining a light on our relationship with our mothers, and if you're women, with yourself and with the feminine in general. How to also actively release trauma and blockages that are stored in our bodies that sometimes we're not even aware of, as I was not. The integration of new tools and practices to maintain these awarenesses in our daily lives. So that was a 3-day process, and there was a ton that came from that. The next retreat is called Living Your Inspiration, and that's our level 2. I say ours, I'm not involved with them. It is a workshop about freedom, the kind of freedom that really only comes from knowing yourself and living life as you truly are, not just the perception that other people have about you or the perception you have of yourself. It's also about discovering intuitive awarenesses and the creative potency that arises when we take full responsibility for everything in our lives. It also teaches us how to rediscover a deep inner knowing as we learn to both interpret and appreciate the messages that our life is offering to us. We do some work on exploring conscious sexuality, which really means owning your body and owning your sexuality and not just reacting in ways that perhaps you were raised to react in due to trauma, like myself, or have found yourself in patterns that you've created to please someone else. It also is about making peace with our fathers. And if you're a man, with the masculine of you, and for either gender, with men in our lives, and learning to embrace that kind of masculine presence in a new, refreshing way. Also, it teaches how to relate in an open and more vulnerable and authentic way. And level 3, also another 3-day workshop. And each workshop, by the way, I won't go into individually what I experienced, but it has all been kind of a part and parcel of what these past months have brought to me. And I can tell you that I am not the same person that I was. And I like who I am better. So level 3 is called integration. And it is only offered once a year in conjunction with this wilderness retreat that I went on. And it focuses on uniting the masculine and feminine and unlocking kind of the doors to the deepest realization of who you are. And through direct experience, you discover kind of this selfless presence hidden behind the masks and the games that you know as yourself. And it describes itself as the unillusioning is complete. Breaking through the sacred wounds and sensing the great truth, purpose, and meaning at the core of our life experience. And we begin to see the game of life for what it is and start to experience bliss and beauty as reality. And we also discover that peace and power are one and the same. This also included, as I mentioned before, a 6-week herbal cleanse that culminates in the final week, in which you are alone while you fast on a sacred space found for you on Mount Shasta. And that is called level 4, transformation. And transformation is a profound experience of letting go of everything that is comfortable for you. You literally pack a pack that is your kit for the time you're going to be gone and is everything you're going to need, and you hike yourself up a mountaintop and you have just the basics for survival. So we are really stripping ourselves of all the distractions that we use to separate ourselves from who we are. It was a quiet, contemplative, meditative, kind of self-revealing space where the illusions fall away. And we get there kind of after the cycle of deep cleansing so we can discover the beginning of our new lives. It is described as giving the gift of you to yourself. So that's a lot of their words. Here are mine. This was the second hardest and most profoundly changing experience of my life. And to be honest, I, like perhaps many of you seekers, had always fantasized about fasting for a week alone on a mountaintop, like some of the great avatars of healing and spiritual teachers in our history. I just personally never thought I'd be brave enough to do it. And what I learned during this summer series of workshops is that I have actually been afraid my entire life. I have been afraid of the world as a whole. I've been afraid of men. I've been afraid of being alone, afraid of not being in control, afraid of the dark, afraid of camping by myself, afraid of fasting for a week, and truthfully, afraid of myself. And I saw someone just make it sound so amazing. Yes, it was incredibly blissful. It was also incredibly painful, but it was powerful and peaceful as well. And, you know, back to my fears, I've really been at effect of these fears for my whole life, and then I was conscious and unconscious of. And my journey really with healing began healing the effects of the toxic stress due to the trauma that I had in childhood and young adulthood. And that's the reason I began my studies in this healing practice over 2 decades ago. And wanting to help other people has been the basis of my practice as I learned more and more and healed more and more. And, kind of really helping us learn how to not only heal our mind, but also our emotions, as well as our body. When, as we know, kind of allopathic medicine really separates those components. And holistic medicine really says you cannot separate the mind from the body. What you think affects how you feel. And I can't say there's anything that's been more true in my life, is learning and uncovering that about my life and the lives of others. And learning that how we feel inside can then also really affect how our body handles disease, or even just being ill or being injured. And learning that while almost everyone deals with some sort of trauma in their life, not everyone is affected by it in the way that can rule your life with things like complex PTSD. And this can cause you, as it did me, to be run by your unconscious reactions in ways that affect and even negate your ability to live your purpose here, that sometimes we don't even recognize. And in my case, it actually helped create my purpose. We can become so empathetic that we become codependent in our desires to keep the people around us in some sort of control, while we're also constantly scanning our environments for threats because we're so overwhelmed by fight and flight and freeze and fawn. And that system for us, which is meant to protect us in normal times of stress, becomes out of control, and it ends up running us in ways that we're not even aware of. And learning that those who struggle with trauma, consciously or unconsciously, also generally struggle with things like panic attacks, anxiety, sleep disorders, gastrointestinal or stomach pain, and other forms of physical suffering, as well as addictions and autoimmune diseases. And to be honest, all of those I have had at one time or another. And all of them I have also healed over the course of my work. However, there's still more. There's deeper perceptions that we hold that leave us reactive and feeling things that might not be explained by the circumstances we're in that have simply just triggered those feelings. Like, have you ever felt afraid, like deeply afraid, for reasons you couldn't understand? Have you ever struggled with anxiety that seemingly came out of the blue? Or panic attacks that left you unable to complete just daily tasks? What about pain that comes and goes and doctors can't seem to find or fix, and in my experience just want to medicate it to make it go away? Diseases that you may have been told, like I was, are lifelong and can't be healed. Or if you don't connect with any of those things, how about catastrophizing your worries until you feel almost paralyzed with fear for those you love? Or addictions that you struggle with, from smoking to drinking to food to work to sex to distractions like Netflix or doom scrolling. I have learned, as I proceeded to cleanse and fast, that everything I thought I knew about how to eat wasn't really true. And that was incredibly profound for me. That I literally ate to stuff my emotions down. Or because I was bored, lonely, angry, tired, sad, happy. Maybe because someone else was eating. Or maybe just because there was food there. I also learned that our trauma is not our lives, that we don't have to continue to unconsciously project our fears onto our lives in order to validate the rightness of having them by continually co-creating more of what it is we're afraid of. That we are truly limitless, just like our potential. That we don't have to continue to live lives that are just fine or okay while we feel at effect of people around us or the circumstances we called into being because of our fears and our constant thoughts about them. You know, like attracts like in the truest form of the words. We get what we think about as we continue to create in every single moment throughout our conscious and our unconscious beliefs about what's possible. I also learned that we can be deliberate creators instead of passive recipients of the reflections of our past suffering, and that we can form our lives from the clay of our own creation, watching them manifest with time into everything we believed we could be. And that if we don't like something, we need to stop thinking about it, talking about it, and making it more real. But maybe you knew all of that already. Maybe you're here to find out if I figured out how to levitate. And I'm not kidding. Because believe it or not, I kind of wanted to. I really did. Then, however, I realized that I really wouldn't know what to do with that if I figured it out. So I gave that up. I did not learn how to levitate. However, instead, I talked to the earth, the creatures, the trees, and everything that lived around me. And they talked back. And I felt the energy of all of it. It told me its history, its struggles. I heard the echoes of the native people who had been where I was before me. I found out that trees can have as many husbands and wives as they like because they live really long lives. They told me that. Also, that they have their own struggles and strife, children and grandchildren, and that they hold the memories of the places they're rooted and all that's happened around them. Or maybe you're listening to me today because you want to know if I healed. I did. I healed trauma that I didn't even know was still within me. I had experiences over the course of this summer that left me terrified and literally trembling while my body struggled to come to terms with my own history. I forced myself through monumental moments, which I cried and shook and thought I couldn't come through. But I did. And here I am, back with all of you, back to teach and guide and become the healer that my incredible and even unbelievable life has shaped me to be. And guess what? No longer afraid. Not of the dark, not of being alone, not of my past, and not of my future. So, based on time, I think that's it for today. Although there is so much more that I could share. Next Monday, I'm going to be sharing this incredibly beautiful, loving meditation on healing your child self so that healing can carry through to your present day. And I hope you come. I will post a link and the phone number to the Awareness Institute if you want to learn more about them. They teach the level 1 and 2 workshops throughout the year. And so I will post that there and see if anybody has any questions. I love seeing you all here. I missed you. I really appreciate who you are. What new information do you have about emotional components to physical pain, specifically if you don't mind about foot pain? Yes. Well, as we remember from our first levels of workshops, foot pain is really about feeling grounded, feeling centered, feeling rooted, feeling connected to your past and your future. It also is about feeling supported by yourself or allowing the support of others. And as you may know, I have the world's biggest book, much larger than Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and it breaks down all of that. And if you want, you can message me privately and I'll tell you what it says about specifically which foot and what some of the deeper mental and emotional components are. But you could say in brief that left foot is about feeling that you can stand on your own, and right foot is feeling that you can receive the support of others. I'm glad you're back, more awesome than ever. Right? Look how shiny I am. It's pretty exciting. I'm sure you could write a whole book about your journey of life. Well, yes, and this was the book I wrote while I was on the mountain. I don't know if you can see that. So this was my mountain book. Lots of things in there. Oh, you sound so beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all of this. Excited to hear more about your time. Interested in healing the inner child? You're welcome. Can you give us points that you will specifically share? Thank you. Yes, what I'm going to do is next Monday. So I'm back every Monday. For those of you that have missed me. So you can always put in the comments, by the way, or post in this group, what is it you want to hear more about? Let's get specific, because I can promise you, if you have a want or a need, someone else out there, they have it too. That's collective consciousness. We speak for each other. And on Monday, I am going to be taking a meditation from a little bit from Teal Swan. So if you're familiar with her, she's incredible. She also had a very traumatic childhood, and she's done some amazing work around it. And one of the things I came across was a meditation that I like the outline of, for really taking us back and learning kind of how to love that child that was wounded. And in the meantime, Celeste, I recommend that you take a picture of yourself from a time in your childhood that you remember as happy, and you post it on your fridge. And every time you have those old fears coming up, you look at that happy baby that you were, and you remember that your life can be amazing, as I'm sure it already is. Rita said you're glowing. I am glowing, right? Bright and shiny. I love you all so much. I have missed you. Even though this forum is a little less personal than I would love, it's the only way to reach so many people, right? And I appreciate your patience with me, because I have gone through some dark stuff. So there were some Mondays where I was like, should I sign in and just cry? And I thought, maybe that would be healing, but probably less informative than I like to provide. So next Monday, come back. Let me read you and take you through a beautiful meditation that you can save, and it'll be on my YouTube, and then you can play it again for yourself in those times that you need. And we can also talk more specifically about healing our inner child and our, hypothetically inner child, but also our traumatized child or our neglected child or our abused child. Because, toxic stress is a real thing. So, Canada loves me. I have a country. I love Canada too. All right, my loves. I will let you all go to live your amazing lives. So go do something that's maybe a little bit scary, but really fills you with excitement today. Let's create some new neural connections to the future that you want. Okay. I'll see you on Monday. Bye, everyone.